All right, everyone, get ready because today we're diving headfirst into the world of adult literacy teachers.
A truly inspiring career path, I have to say.
Absolutely. And we're lucky enough to have RoleCatcher's insights to guide us. When you think of literacy, you usually picture, well, kids learning their ABCs. Well,
Right, it's easy to forget that many adults struggle with these fundamental skills too.
exactly. So let's shed some light on that. What does an adult literacy teacher actually do asterisko?
In a nutshell, they're guiding adults who, for various reasons, may not have had the opportunity to develop those core reading and writing skills earlier in life.
So we're talking about a primary school level of learning? Yeah. Building those foundational blocks.
Exactly. And what's incredible is that RoleCatcher found that 75% of adult learners who complete literacy programs go on to experience greater economic stability, better jobs, higher salaries.
Wow, that's a life-changing impact.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the economic side of things, too. Imagine giving someone the ability to read to their child for the first time, or confidently fill out a medical form. These are the kind of victories adult literacy teachers get to be a part of.
That's amazing. So where would someone typically work if they pursued this career path?
You'll find them in places you might expect, like adult education centers, community
Right,
colleges.
those make sense.
But it gets more interesting. Correctional facilities actually have a huge need for adult literacy teachers. Same with vocational schools, even some workplaces that offer employee development programs.
So we're talking about a career with built-in variety, potentially working with people from all walks of life. Now that's what I call impactful. But let's be real, every job has its ups and downs. What does RoleCatcher have to say about the good, the bad, and the maybe not so great when it comes to being an adult literacy teacher?
Well, they highlight the flexibility many adult literacy teachers enjoy, which is a huge plus for those who value work-life balance.
Can't argue with that.
But they're also upfront about the salary limitations, which is definitely something to consider carefully.
Okay, so it's a balancing act, weighing passion against practicality.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from the emotional toll this kind of work can take. Burnout is a real concern, especially for those who pour their heart and soul into their students' success.
That makes sense. You're so invested in their journeys.
Right. But then again, that feeling of fulfillment, knowing you're making a tangible difference in someone's life, that's a reward that's hard to put a price tag on.
Okay, I'm sold on the why. Now let's get into the how. What does it take asterisk to become an adult literacy teacher?
If you think it's as simple as knowing the alphabet, think again. While a strong foundation in language is key, RoleCatcher points to degrees in education, English, or linguistics as common paths.
Makes sense. You're teaching language after all.
Right, but I also noticed they mentioned psychology and sociology, which I found interesting.
Now that you mention it, I saw that too. Seems a bit out of left field, doesn't it?
It might seem that way, but it's actually incredibly important. Remember, you're not just teaching grammar rules here. You're working with asterisk adults, asterisk doc, complex individuals with diverse learning styles, and often personal challenges they bring with them into the classroom.
So empathy and understanding are just as crucial as lesson plans.
Absolutely. In fact, when you look at the skills RoleCatcher highlights, it's striking how much emphasis is placed on interpersonal abilities. They found that strong speaking skills were essential for 57% of adult literacy teacher roles.
Okay, so being articulate is important. That tracks.
But get this, active listening was even more critical, ranking at 54%.
Wow, so it's really about connecting with people on a human level, building that trust and rapport before you even dive into the curriculum.
Exactly. RoleCatcher even mentioned that they've seen former social workers and counselors transition really well into adult literacy roles because they already possess those core people skills.
That makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how technology is changing the game. RoleCatcher mentions that online and blended learning are becoming increasingly popular in adult education. It's about time education caught up with how we live our lives today.
Right. It's about time. And just imagine the possibilities. We could be reaching students who, for whatever reason, location, work schedules, maybe even just feeling intimidated by a traditional classroom, haven't had access to these programs before.
It's like we're breaking down barriers. And speaking of breaking barriers, I have to ask about RoleCatcher itself. They've got some pretty amazing tools for job seekers like AI-powered resume tailoring, instant skills gap analysis. It almost sounds too good to be true.
I know, right? It can feel like magic, especially for those who've been out of the job market for a while or who are switching careers. But what I find truly exciting is how this technology can be applied to education itself. Imagine using data to, actually connect potential students with literacy programs that perfectly match their needs, or even personalizing learning materials based on individuals' strengths and weaknesses. It's incredible.
It really is like we're on the verge of a whole new area in education, isn't it? But let's pump the brakes on the futuristic stuff for just a second, bring it back to the here and now. Let's say someone listening is intrigued by this whole adult literacy teacher thing. What would RoleCatcher say are those crucial first steps they should take?
RoleCatcher really emphasizes the importance of hands-on experience. They're big on suggesting volunteering at adult literacy centers or tutoring programs, maybe even at community libraries.
So dip your toes in before you dive in head first.
Exactly. It's a chance to get real-world experience working directly with adult learners, seeing if you click with that kind of teaching environment. And don't underestimate those informal learning experiences either.
Right, like you learn by doing.
Yes. You pick up practical teaching strategies, gain confidence in your abilities. Plus, you start building a network of fellow educators.
It's a win-win, really. You're giving back to the community asterisk and asterisk investing in your own professional development at the same time. Now, for those who are maybe a little further along, they've got some experience under their belt, maybe through volunteering or teaching in a different capacity, what does the path to becoming a fully qualified adult literacy teacher look like?
Well, it can vary a bit depending on where you are in the world and the specific setting you want to teach in. But
Mhm.
generally speaking, a bachelor's degree is usually the minimum requirement.
Which makes sense. You need that solid educational foundation.
Absolutely. And remember those fields we mentioned earlier, like psychology that might seem unrelated at first? Well, they can actually become super valuable assets as you move forward in your career.
Right. Having those broader insights into human behavior and learning styles can give you an edge.
100%. RoleCatcher even shared a story about a former therapist who transitioned into adult literacy education. Because of her background, she excelled at creating this incredibly safe and supportive learning environment for her students. They felt seen, they felt heard, which we've talked about is so important, especially for adult learners.
It really speaks volumes about the idea that your unique skills and experiences, even those that might seem unrelated at first, can be incredibly valuable in this field. It's not just about checking off boxes on a resume, but let's say someone is ready to level up, really stand out in the field. What are some strategies for going that extra mile?
RoleCatcher is a huge advocate for continuous learning, whether that's pursuing an advanced degree in adult education, attending those workshops on the latest teaching methodologies, or even getting involved in research projects. The key takeaway here is to demonstrate that you're committed to staying current and constantly looking for ways to up your game.
Because the world of education is constantly changing.
Oh,
Right. You don't want to get stuck in your ways.
exactly. And another thing RoleCatcher emphasized, building a teaching portfolio. Think sample lesson plans, teaching materials you've created yourself, maybe even testimonials from past students.
It's like having tangible proof of your skills and experience to show potential employers.
Right. It lets you go beyond just listing your qualifications on a resume. You're painting a more complete picture of your teaching style, your passion for this work.
It's such a great tip. Now, for those already picturing themselves as seasoned adult literacy teachers, what's the typical career trajectory look like? Is there room to grow, take on leadership roles within this field?
Absolutely. As you gain experience, you might find yourself taking on more responsibilities. You could be mentoring new teachers, designing curriculum for literacy programs, maybe even leading professional development workshops for other educators.
So there are opportunities to really shape the field as a whole.
For sure. You could even choose to specialize in a certain area of adult literacy. For example, teaching English to speakers of other languages, what's known as TESOL.
That's so interesting. I can definitely see with our increasingly globalized world, that need for TESOL-trained educators would just keep growing. It speaks volumes about how interconnected we're all becoming. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. What does a day in the life of an adult literacy teacher actually look like?
Well, every day is an adventure, It really depends on the teaching environment, the specific needs of your students. But let's imagine this. You're a brand new adult literacy teacher just starting out. You might find yourself assisting students with, say, basic reading activities, helping them decode words, or, guiding them as they practice their writing skills. A lot of one-on-one support, really tailoring things to each individual's pace.
It sounds like Patience and adaptability would be essential qualities to have in this role. You can't just take a one-size-fits-all approach.
100%. And that's where assessment comes into play. A good adult literacy teacher uses all sorts of methods to really understand where each student is at in their learning journey. This could be anything from informal observations, having those casual conversations, to maybe more structured, formal assessments.
So it's less about, like, grading them and more about gathering those insights to help them succeed.
Exactly. It's not about labeling anyone. It's about figuring out what works best for each individual.
It's like you're playing detective, but instead of solving a crime, you're solving the puzzle of how each student learns best.
Love that analogy. And it really requires a keen eye.
Hmm.
A good adult literacy teacher can sense when a student's struggling, even if they're not saying it out loud. They know how to break down concepts into bite-sized pieces, make it less overwhelming. And of course, offering encouragement along the way is so important.
It sounds like a delicate dance, right? You're teaching those technical skills, but also nurturing a sense of confidence and self-belief.
You hit the nail on the head. And as an adult literacy teacher gains more experience, often they'll have the opportunity to actually design their own lesson plans, maybe even develop new curriculum.
That's where you can get really creative, I imagine. Put your own personal stamp on things.
Exactly. You can start incorporating more innovative teaching methods, like using real-world scenarios to make it all feel more relevant. Maybe your students practice their literacy skills by reading a local newspaper article or navigating a website. Or how about even filling out a job application?
Now, that's what I call hands-on learning.
Right.
And I bet it's incredibly rewarding as a teacher to see those skills being applied in such practical ways.
It's the best. And as you progress even further in your career, you might find yourself in a mentoring role, guiding new adult literacy teachers, sharing all that wisdom you've gained.
That's a pretty amazing legacy to leave, passing on that passion for literacy. But we can't wrap up this deep dive without talking about the job outlook. We've talked about the rewards, but what about the practical realities? Is there a demand out there for adult literacy teachers?
The good news is, RoleCatcher's data actually points to a positive job outlook for adult literacy teachers. They project demand will continue to grow at a steady pace in the coming years.
Well, that's encouraging to hear. What's driving that demand, would you say?
I think it's a combination of things. First off, there's just more awareness now about the importance of literacy in our world. Basic literacy, those foundational skills, they're not just nice to haves anymore, right? They're essential for everything.
Yeah.
Managing your finances, accessing healthcare information, and with technology constantly advancing, digital literacy is becoming more and more crucial as well.
It's like the ability to keep learning and adapting is the new essential skill, no matter what you do.
100%. And we can't forget about our aging population. As people are living longer, many find they need to brush up on those literacy skills or even learn entirely new ones just to stay engaged in our increasingly tech-driven world.
Makes sense. It's never too late to learn something new.
Exactly. And what I find so fascinating about this field is that adult literacy teachers, they're not just working with one specific group of people. Their students come from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds, each with their own unique story.
And each with their own reasons for wanting to enhance those literacy skills. It really speaks to the diverse and rewarding nature of this work, doesn't it?
It does, and I think that's what makes it so special. You're not just teaching a subject, you're empowering people to transform their lives, to reach their full potential, contribute to their communities in meaningful ways.
The ripple effect, right? That's what's so powerful.
Exactly.
It's been truly inspiring to delve into this often overlooked career path with you, and to uncover the profound impact adult literacy teachers have, not just on individuals, but on our communities as a whole. So for those listening who are feeling that spark, that desire to empower others through the gift of literacy, where can they go? What can they do to learn more and maybe even take those first steps?
Well, I have to give a shout out to RoleCatcher. Their platform is an incredible resource for anyone, curious about this field. They've got these in-depth career guides, tons of info on certification programs, even tools to connect job seekers with potential employers.
Sounds like they've got it all covered. It's been fascinating to imagine how technology might shape the future of literacy with AI-powered learning and all that. But at the end of the day, it's that human element, that passion, that empathy that truly makes this field so special.
Couldn't agree more. Technology can enhance and support, but that human connection, that's irreplaceable.
Absolutely. It's about empowering individuals. One word, one story, one life at a time. Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of adult literacy teachers. Until next time, keep those minds curious and remember it's never too late to embrace the power of learning.